Welcome to your ultimate infinite heights, where the sky is not the limit, where millions are made, conserved, and transformed, and where information is power and drives our decisions for meaningful actions toward wealth building. But today, we're talking about something far more volatile than my attempts at public speaking, an energy crisis that could leave North America smelling like a gas station bathroom. Because folks, Canada, our friendly hat-wearing neighbors to the north, are close to shutting off the oil tap. We're talking about a potential economic nightmare, the kind that makes you want to hoard gasoline and invest in canned goods. So buckle up, Buttercup, because we're about to break down the 7 key factors behind this crisis and explore just how screwed we might be. Time is ticking, and the stakes have never been higher. Stay tuned as we dive deep into the unfolding drama of the oil trade war. Let's talk tariffs, those economic hand grenades. The US slapped tariffs on Canadian crude oil. It's like punching your biggest customer and wondering why they're not calling back. American refineries rely on Canada's heavy crude. Canada started looking to China and India, diversifying their oil market options. Canada, our polite and apologetic neighbor, decided to channel their inner honey badger. Prime Minister Justin Trudeau essentially said, "All right, you want to play hardball? Fine. We're prepared to halt crude oil exports entirely." Canada has the infrastructure to redirect its oil elsewhere. Suddenly, the US found itself on the outside looking in. The consequences for the US would be dire. Canadian oil workers were ready to adapt to new markets. The global oil market braced for a significant shift. Now, let's talk about everyone's favorite topic: gas prices. You know, those numbers on the gas station sign that seem to go up faster than a SpaceX rocket? Well, if Canada cuts off oil exports, those numbers are going to make your eyes water. We're talking $7, $8, maybe even $9 per gallon in some areas. And that's just the beginning. Imagine this. You wake up one morning, and suddenly, filling up your car costs more than a week's worth of groceries. You have to choose between driving to work and buying that avocado toast you've been craving. The trucking industry, the backbone of the American economy, would be crippled by soaring diesel costs. Groceries, electronics, those Amazon packages you're addicted to, everything would get more expensive. And let's not forget about airlines. Remember those cheap flights? Gone. This isn't just a fuel crisis, folks. It's a full-blown economic meltdown in the making. Families would struggle to make ends meet, cutting back on essentials. Empty shelves and higher prices would become the new normal. Public outrage would grow, leading to protests and demands for action. Governments would be under immense pressure to find solutions. This crisis could accelerate the shift towards renewable energy and electric vehicles. A silver lining in an otherwise dark cloud. Now, some of you might be thinking, hold on, Crespo, doesn't the US have its own oil? Can't we just drill our way out of this mess? And to that, I say, bless your heart. You see, it's not as simple as just turning on the oil spigot like some kind of fossil fuel faucet. Most US oil production is light crude. American refineries, on the other hand, are built for that heavy crude, the full-fat, creamy goodness that Canada provides. Retooling those refineries to process a different type of oil would take years and cost billions of dollars. And even if the US could magically switch to processing its own oil overnight, it wouldn't be enough. We're already pumping oil at near max capacity. Expanding production would require new infrastructure, drilling projects, and environmental approvals that take longer than a snail in a bureaucracy marathon. So, what about those other oil-producing countries? Surely OPEC or Venezuela could step in and save the day, right? Well, not so fast. OPEC has its own production limits and political agendas. Venezuela, despite its vast reserves, is plagued by economic and political turmoil. The global oil market is a complex web of supply, demand, and geopolitics. So while it's tempting to think there's a quick fix, the reality is far more complicated. And that's why US oil alone can't fix this mess. Remember that emergency stash of oil the US keeps for a rainy day? The Strategic Petroleum Reserve, or SPR. It's looking a little thin these days. Imagine your pantry after a month-long Netflix binge. That's the state of the SPR now. Once it held over 700 million barrels. But now it's at its lowest level in decades. The SPR is our insurance against energy crises and disasters. With the reserves dwindling, the US faces a precarious energy future. It's a stark reminder of the need for sustainable energy solutions. Now, this wouldn't be a proper global crisis if it didn't involve a healthy dose of international intrigue. Because here's the thing. If Canada stops sending oil to the US, it's not just North America that feels the burn. Oh no, this is the kind of economic earthquake that sends tremors across the globe. Imagine a giant game of Jenga, where each block represents a country's economy. Now imagine someone yanking out the block labeled Canadian oil exports to the US. The tower might not topple over immediately, but it's going to get pretty wobbly. China, India, those thirsty oil-guzzling giants, they'll start looking for new sources of energy, potentially forging new alliances and shifting the balance of power. Financial markets will go haywire as investors panic and oil prices soar higher than a SpaceX rocket fueled by Red Bull. International energy policies will be debated fiercely, with world leaders scrambling to secure their nation's energy futures. This could also accelerate the shift towards renewable energy, as countries seek to reduce their dependence on oil. Electric cars, green energy initiatives, and sustainable practices might see a significant boost as a result. Global trade routes will be re-evaluated, with shipping lanes and cargo routes being adjusted to new realities. Economic analysts will be working overtime, trying to predict and mitigate the impacts of this seismic shift in the energy landscape. The global energy distribution map will be redrawn, with new players emerging and old alliances being tested. News outlets will be buzzing with updates as the world watches this unfolding drama with bated breath. Public debates and community meetings will be held as people try to understand and cope with the changes. Ultimately, this could lead to a new global energy summit, where leaders come together to forge a path forward. And just when you thought things couldn't get any messier, let's throw in a good old-fashioned dose of political dysfunction. Because of course, this being an election year in the US, the Canadian oil crisis has become a political football, with politicians from both sides of the aisle more interested in scoring points than finding solutions. You've got one side screaming about tariffs and blaming Canada for being difficult, while the other side is calling for calm and urging negotiation. It's enough to make you want to bang your head against a wall, preferably one padded with sound-dampening material. Meanwhile, Canada is watching all of this unfold with a mixture of amusement and exasperation, like that one friend who always seems to get dragged into your family drama. They're weighing their options, playing it cool, but they're not afraid to walk away if the deal isn't right. The stakes have never been higher. Economic analysts are closely monitoring the situation as the stock market reacts to every new development. The global market is on edge, waiting to see how this trade war will unfold. Oil prices are fluctuating wildly, affecting everything from gas prices to airline tickets. Businesses are scrambling to adapt, trying to navigate the uncertainty. Everyone is holding their breath, waiting for the next move in this high-stakes game. It feels like the calm before the storm, with everyone bracing for impact. Political leaders are gearing up for intense negotiations, hoping to find a resolution. The world is watching, waiting to see if cooler heads will prevail. There's a glimmer of hope that a solution can be found, but the road ahead is uncertain. One thing is clear. The outcome of this crisis will shape the future of international trade for years to come. So, here we are, folks, standing at a crossroads. On one side, we have decades of energy partnership between the US and Canada, a relationship built on mutual benefit and a shared love of hockey. On the other side, we have a potential energy crisis, fueled by tariffs, political posturing, and a whole lot of uncertainty. If the US continues down this path, if they keep playing chicken with the Canadian economy, things could get very messy, very quickly. We're talking about skyrocketing gas prices, economic turmoil, and a whole lot of unhappy campers on both sides of the border. But hey, maybe there's still time to turn this thing around. Maybe cooler heads will prevail, tariffs will be lifted, and the US and Canada can go back to being the best of frenemies. What do you think? Let me know in the comments below. So, here we are, folks. Standing at a crossroads. On one side, we have decades of energy partnership between the US and Canada, a relationship built on mutual benefit and a shared love of hockey. On the other side, we have a potential energy crisis, fueled by tariffs, political posturing, and a whole lot of uncertainty. If the US continues down this path, if they keep playing chicken with the Canadian economy, things could get very messy, very quickly. We're talking about skyrocketing gas prices, economic turmoil, and a whole lot of unhappy campers on both sides of the border. But hey, maybe there's still time to turn this thing around. Maybe cooler heads will prevail, tariffs will be lifted, and the US and Canada can go back to being the best of frenemies. What do you think? Let me know in the comments below. If you've loved the content, hit subscribe and like and watch this next one on Canada versus China's move to counter the tariffs from the USA.